usually don't use the F-bomb, but in talking to Sean about the speech, I was kind of half joking. And I don't even know if I can even say it, but it's basically at the media, tell your own story. And it really is simply about telling your own story, because I believe there's a disease that's plaguing Silicon Valley, and it is called media dependency. How many of you are familiar with that? Media dependency, right? It's surprising if you think about it, because there is so much money being thrown around here in Silicon Valley and being invested in so many startups that you would think that they're setting aside some of this money, just even a tiny bit, for marketing. But you know where it's going? It's actually going into trying to get media attention, which to me, it doesn't really make sense if you think about it, because there are only maybe a dozen absolutely fantastic, outstanding journalists in the tech industry, and there are hundreds, if not thousands, of startups that need to be covered. So when did it become standard practice to rely upon internet publications to tell our story, to talk about our services, to promote our products? When did the disease of journalistic dependency become such a PR plague? Well, it's a very recent dilemma. Entrepreneurs and PR specialists became dependent upon internet publications because this digital media was actually a part of our burgeoning community, right? Between 2009 and 2010, bloggers had just started to truly take the place of traditional media outlets. And we supported this new media. They were our voice. They were our perspective. They were honest. They were edgy. And they were actually available. And in the beginning, most of the great tech blogs and online news agencies didn't monetize their websites with sponsored content and digital banners, those annoying digital banners. They were the perfect places to introduce new companies, new products, and new services. The journalists who wrote for these sites were receptive to introducing new ideas, and they actually sought after fledgling companies with great products and impressive investors. But things changed. Online media outlets began a cult of personality. So instead of nurturing their relationships with entrepreneurs and journalists, and PR reps, these journalists actually started focusing more on their own personal following. They wanted the spotlight. They actually needed the spotlight. The bigger the following, the more ad dollars that would roll in, right? So what happened next? The entrepreneur actually became the sacrificial lamb. The more sensational the headline, the more views. The more outrageous the argument the reporter was making about a company or accusation they were making about a company or an industry, the more views, right? The louder the voice, the bigger the following. The bigger the following, the more ad dollars that would roll in. So the trend in Silicon Valley has led to a blogger or a journalist's ability to actually make or break a company. And we're all familiar with that happening. We all know a company or two that couldn't get that media attention, and they just kind of fell by the wayside. And that means Silicon Valley media is no longer about the voice of the entrepreneur. It's actually about the voice of the media itself. So I think it's about time to give the voice back to the entrepreneur. So we never hear them say, ever, ever, ever again, that my company is dying on the vine because I cannot get media attention. How many of your clients have actually said that to you? I'm dying, I can't get any media attention, you're fired. Yeah, you can actually make a difference in that, but really, that's not always the case. Should a story actually on Mashable or TechCrunch or any other media outlet out there truly be the benchmark for success of any company or any industry? If you're depending on the media and solely the media to create your user base, here are 5 things for you to consider when your story is in the hands of a reporter. Number one, you have absolutely no control over that story angle. When I was at Forbes, I was told to pick an argument and support it. And only those facts that supported that argument were in my story. All the rest, by the wayside. Number two, you have no control whether a reporter actually does a story on your competitor versus your company, if that reporter is really good friends with an investor in that company, or they're drinking buddies with the entrepreneur themselves. Number three, reporters may have their own bias and interests, even though they're not a beat reporter necessarily. And if they simply don't like you or don't like your company, they're not going to do the story. Number four, many young reporters tend to take cheap shots versus actually offering a healthy dose of skepticism. And we're all familiar with that as well, right? We could blame just the fact that they're young, they're inexperienced, or we could argue the fact that they're making these snide remarks because they want to build a following and sensationalism sells. And number five, you have no control over the images that are put inside these stories. And as you know, a lot of these stories and the views are truly being driven not just by the headlines, but the images that are chosen, and they're becoming more and more extreme. And I've been personally affected by this because there are a lot of entrepreneurs and PR specialists that trust me, having been a journalist for nearly 20 years, to make introductions to my colleagues, my fellow reporters that I truly trust. And recently, I made an introduction between an entrepreneur, a friend of mine, who is the CEO of a company that I truly believed in, and a really amazing journalist here in Silicon Valley. And I was so excited to make that introduction, but when the story actually published, along with it, a horrific, sexually explicit image, I was completely shocked, and it was very, very damaging for that company. So after hearing these 5 things, do you actually feel like you could or may be at the mercy of the media, and it's about time that we take the reins? Well, I think it's time to put those marketing dollars to work and put some of these PR folks and all of the creativity that you have inside your toolbox to work. And I know many PR folks are incredibly creative. And a lot of their writing skills are going by the wayside by just sitting in emails to journalists. I know that I have sat there and I've read a few of these, not press releases, but personal pitches from PR folks, that I sit there and I think, oh my goodness, they have written the story so well that I don't think that it's even possible for me to tell the story better myself. So I'm sure many of you here sitting in this room are ready to put those creative juices to work in a very new approach to actually marketing the companies that you represent. So let's think about it. What is it about the media that you love? It's really all about trying to create a buzz, right? Well, what if you could actually create the buzz yourself for you or your clients? So let's start with the path of least resistance. It's an area that we know a lot about. It's called the comment section. And normally we try and stay as far away from that comment section as we can, or as we possibly could, simply because we want to make sure to stay away from the trolls. Most online news agencies do have these comment sections on all of their articles, and the comment section is often, if you think about it, more informative and interesting than some of the articles themselves, if you do get past some of those trolls. It's the perfect vehicle, I think, to introduce your company, a new idea, a new service, a new feature. You can literally hijack a story on your competitor and put it in front of an established audience. But there are a few rules. Truly and fully disclose who you are and your agenda. Add a thought-provoking question, add insight, start a discussion. If you need an employee or a friend to help you kickstart that discussion, do it. But don't just leave it at that one comment and that one thought-provoking question. It takes time to cultivate a discussion, a community surrounding that particular article. So monitor it. Comment on the comments being made and add more thought-provoking questions. I can't tell you how many times over the past few years I have told people to do this. When I've done a story on crowdsourcing, for example, a PR person will call me and say, well, you did a story on one of my client's competitors, so now do a story on mine. And I would tell them, you know what, I'm not doing any more stories on crowdsourcing. Why don't you go and hijack my comment section and talk about your company? Not one has done it, except for a good friend of mine, McNicholas. He's the CEO of an eco-friendly housing company. A company that I did actually do a story on for Forbes. It was an online article about his company. He loved the article, but he had his own agenda. He had a different angle that he wanted to push himself. And so I said, well, I can't write another article, and this is the argument that I chose, the angle that I chose. So why don't you hijack the comment section? Sure enough, he did. Full disclosure, I'm Nicola Beanie, CEO of Beanie Shells, and I am the subject of this article. But I have a different angle. I have some new insight to share. And he shared a few facts. And then he also added a thought-provoking question, which spawned an amazing discussion. And for every reply to his comment, he responded. He not just responded with insight that further added to the discussion, he also added a thought-provoking question. We ended up with, I think, more than 70 comments on that article. So many comments and such a dynamic discussion with so much amazing insight from so many amazing experts that it caught the attention of my Forbes magazine editor, who asked me to translate that discussion into a magazine article. Now that doesn't always happen, but what if it could? There is the potential. It's been done before, it hasn't been done since, but it can be done again. Number 2, be a social media pirate. And I know you've heard people say over and over again to make sure to use social media, but I think there is so much more potential to social media, and you have the skills right here in this room to truly make it happen. You're incredibly creative, I just know it. Social media is all about creating a community, right? That community starts with your friends. You support your friends, they support you. They don't support you, you delete them, right? You unfriend them. With a little planning and some creativity, your Facebook and Twitter accounts can truly pay off. But to be successful, you must establish a formal agenda for your social media strategy, assigning specific content daily, weekly, and even monthly. Some interesting content that will help build your community. Tell me the stories about your customers. Share thank you letters from your customers. Start a blog and share those posts on Twitter and Facebook, including behind-the-scenes insights of your product development process. That is all incredibly fun. As a user of any product, I love the behind-the-scenes discussions and insights. Offer online deals and discounts as well. But really, be creative. Don't just advertise your company. Truly, truly present it. Also, I know this is incredibly controversial, but don't be afraid to use Facebook ads or the paid-for posts. But use this as an indicator. If you were actually reading a post, a paid-for post from another friend, would you actually read it? Would you want to see it? Would you want to see that great content, or lack thereof, infiltrating your news feed? If no is the answer to that question, then don't post it. If yes is the answer, then go ahead and post it. Social media allows you, once again, to create a community, and a community, I think, is critical to the success of your product. If you create a community that will spread your message, it will obliterate, I love that word, it will obliterate your media dependency. And just as an added bonus, as you develop your community, I think the media folks will just start trickling in because they can't help but notice the buzz that you are creating yourself. Number 3, lights, camera, action. Create your own content, create your own blog, create your own gossip page. Okay, I'm just saying if you're paying attention. Not many people can actually pull off a TMC. But I have seen it happen with some consumer-oriented companies, and it can work, but only if you're certain that you have the pros working on that for you. And this is a surprising one coming from a video journalist. Create your own video content, your own video channel. Don't be afraid of it. It's fun, it's exciting. You really can't do anything wrong at this point. Don't be afraid to experiment with informative and really funny content, even if it's content that you just think is funny. YouTube is just an amazing platform, to promote ideas and projects. Successful YouTube channels, though, have a lot of content. You can't just post one video and expect millions of views. The more content, right, the more views that you have the potential to get. And the best YouTube channels have incredibly diverse content. A mix of the corporate content from your employees, as well as content from your customers as well. But it's really all about audience engagement. Create videos that the audience will truly engage with, that they will embed, that they will share, that they will comment on. That includes not just videos about your customers, but what if you create videos about potential customers? Not a hard sell. When you contact these potential customers, say you're just beta testing, you're just looking for new use cases, right? Don't even try and sell them. And I guarantee for many of those, if you walk in, you do an amazing video about it, they're gonna wanna buy from you. I guarantee it. Also, during brainstorming sessions about your products or new features, why not press record on a GoPro? Now make sure the person that's pressing record and is handling that media you can truly trust not to actually release that video until you're truly ready. But imagine releasing a behind-the-scenes look at all the hijinks that are happening or that happens, when you're in there in a brainstorming meeting at the time of your launch. Imagine the buzz that that's going to create. Act out skits involving your products. Have just a lot of fun with it. Users just love seeing behind the scenes, as I said, on your products and their favorite features. With very little editing, you have great shareable video content. Here's a new one for you. How about creating a video which offers news and insights about not just your company, but about your entire industry? You can become, and you have the potential right now of becoming the authority of your entire industry if you do this. Very few companies do it and do it well. Email it, share it on social media. I helped build a video news department back in the year 2000 for a company called Williams Energy. It's a publicly traded company. We had experienced reporters working with us, and we interviewed other experts as well, not just people within our company, but experts outside of our company, the ultimate experts and authorities in the energy industry. And we did a 15-minute live broadcast online in the year 2000, every hour on the hour for 6 hours per day. We became the news source for the entire industry because we were the ones that were in the know, as we were 100% on the inside. So we had more insight than any other reporter that was outside of our four walls. And even more importantly, since we could truly be candid and transparent about our own company, and this is key. Transparency and candidness is incredibly key if you do this. That further added to our credibility in the industry and the success of our news media product. So create your own news program, create your own content, and create your own community. And believe me, Reporters and bloggers out there will not miss the press releases in their inbox. They get hundreds of them, if not thousands of them, every single day, every single week, every month, and every year, so they won't miss yours. They don't have a vested interest in your company, in you, in your success. So take control of your own destiny and tell your own story. Thank you. I'm not sure if I'm, oh, yes.
5 minutes if you want to do a quick Q&A.
Does anyone have any questions? No questions?
What kind of technology or apps do you use to do the live streaming and stuff? What's this all about?
Oh, there are so many companies out there to do live streaming, and the free one, there's Livestream and Ustream, and Ooyala is one of my favorites as well. From the media themselves?
No, from people, the audience.
Well, as I'm saying, you need to start with your own community. You need to start with your own friends. A friend of mine, Tom Cadis with Voxer, he refused to actually talk to the media in the very beginning because he said it would skew his numbers. He wanted that true, organic virality of his product. And I think that that's a good testament to the success and the quality of your product, is if it can actually make a run without the help of the media.